Hi, I've got something you'll be interested in. Those performance upgrades we discussed after the last race. They're on the car and the data looks promising. Take a look at the details.
What is up, people, and welcome back to the F1 2017 career mode for season 2 round 12. It is, of course, the Belgian Grand Prix, the famous Spa-Francorchamps circuit, one of my favorite circuits on the whole entire calendar, so I cannot wait for this one. And as always, if you have missed any of the previous episodes, we haven't done an episode for the last couple of days, but if you have missed any of them, there will be a card annotation in the top right hand corner of your screens for you guys to go catch up with. There will also be the whole entire playlist and a link in the description as well. But let's get into the Belgian Grand Prix. And a quick little apology. I know this series is supposed to be daily, but unfortunately I just couldn't get these two episodes up over Saturday and Sunday. So we're going to have a double upload sometime in the coming week to make up for that. But here we are, Belgian Grand Prix, and the FP1 was actually filmed 2 months ago, but this was the first proper race that I have done after coming back from my big sort of break from YouTube. So this is the first sort of time of me getting back in an F1 car behind my steering wheel and trying to do the best. Although what you're seeing right now is actually from 2 months ago, where I did the FP1 session. Just doing the practice sessions. It wasn't exactly the best of scores in these sessions, unfortunately. Just could not get the purple scores in a few of them, which was a little bit disappointing, and ending that session down in P16. I'm guessing the Renault, or at least my capabilities in this car, I just couldn't really get acclimatized to the circuit with this car, and I did struggle quite a bit, even though we did have 2 upgrades coming into today's race. But now what you're seeing right now is me in an F1 car for the first time in 2 months, and it didn't exactly go to plan. I mean, everything was nice and fine going through turn 1, the run down in towards Eau Rouge, and then it kind of went a little bit wrong here. Dipped on the grass a little bit too much, lost the back end, straight into the wall, and that was the end of my FP2 session after the first lap. I didn't even get a proper lap in without binning the car into the wall. But unfortunately, that's the way it went, down in 20th position to end free practice 2. Not setting a time there, so not really too much to pick from that session. But then unfortunately, I guess because, well, actually it was 2 reasons. First of all, I thought it was because, you know, I hadn't played this game for 2 months, so I thought it was a bit slow. That's why I couldn't even get anywhere near the target times on this game. But the main reason, which I didn't actually find out till after qualifying, is I was using an engine that was heavily worn. You will see how worn it is in the qualifying session, but I didn't actually realize until before I took part in the race how worn my engine was. So unfortunately, missing out on quite a lot of resource points in both the last 2 practice programs, ending that session in P18 just ahead of both of the Sauers. But how are we going to do with a very heavily worn engine in the qualifying session? Let's find out.
It's qualifying time at Spa, one of the mightiest tracks on the Formula 1 calendar. Long straights, up and downhill, Eau Rouge as well. This track isn't for the faint-hearted.
So, after 2 months without playing a single race on this F1 2017 game, I decided to jump into qualifying, and it is raining. That is just my luck. That is just my luck on this game. Nevertheless, here we go. First qualifying session in 2 months, and it's off to a very, very bad start here today. 2 minutes and 5 seconds is the best I can do in my first lap. Of course, this is in the rain. I am going to be acclimatized to the circuit as the session goes on, so hopefully we can improve on the lap times. As you can see, my second lap here today, we're about 1.5 seconds up on my previous best lap time, so that's a big improvement. Not quite moving me up in the standings against the other drivers like Pascal Wehrlein at the moment, but we still have a few more laps left to go in this session, so hopefully we can do just that as we're now going through the final couple of corners in towards Blanchimont. Now we're going to have a look at the engine. Just look at the engine on the right hand side. MGUK 77% worn. Combustion engine is 89% worn, so our straight line speed is absolutely atrocious, and also our turbocharger is 77% worn, so not exactly a clever idea of using a worn engine. But what can we do in the qualifying session? Can we break into Q2 here? 1.6 seconds quicker than my previous best lap time. Was it enough? No, It was not really disappointing here today to be knocked out of the qualifying session, and it was just a huge mistake from myself of not switching out the engine after the practice sessions going into qualifying. Really disappointing that I made that mistake, and it has cost me so much in terms of track position. Luckily though, it does mean with this circuit that we can make a lot of overtakes. It's a high-speed circuit, so I think a lot of overtakes are possible here today. But we're also going to use this opportunity to take a new gearbox and also take quite a lot of engine parts as well. Because if we're starting in 18th position, we might as well start right at the back of the field anyway. So let's see what we can do from 20th position as we head over to the race for the Belgian Grand Prix.
As the drivers complete their preparations down below us on the grid, one man who's no stranger to the pre-race pressure is Anthony Davidson, who joins me in the commentary box today. Great to have you with us, Ant. I'm sure you can tell us all about what goes through a driver's head before lights out.
Well, from the moment qualifying's over, you start to feel the adrenaline in your body build up and the buzz in your stomach as you anticipate the run down into turn one. It's all a bit like going into battle, and the unknown situation makes you nervous. Those pre-race nerves are a good thing. The day you don't have them means that you don't care anymore. And of course, you have to make sure that all the procedures are second nature to you so that they're not taking up too much of your capacity.
It's race day here at the Belgian Grand Prix, but before we get into that, let's have a look at the starting order for today's race. Valtteri Bottas lines up in pole position with Lewis Hamilton in P2. Then Sebastian Vettel was in third with Raikkonen 4th, Daniel Ricciardo 5th, and Max Verstappen lines up P6. Sergio Perez is in 7th with Sainz in 8th. Grosjean in 9th, Felipe Massa 10th, and Nico Hulkenberg, my teammate, in P11. Esteban Ocon 12th, Magnussen 13th, Kvyat 14th, Alonso in 15th, Lance Stroll 16th, then Stoffel Van Dorn in 17th for his home Grand Prix, Marcus Ericsson 18th, Pascal Wehrlein 19th, then right at the back of the field is myself after taking a whole load of engine penalties here today. Just looking at the race strategy, starting on the soft tyres and switching out for the super softs later on. But without any further ado, let's get this race underway. So the lights are coming on now for the Belgian Grand Prix. We got a 5 red lights. It is lights out and away we go. And it's not the best of starts compared to the two Sauber drivers there. We're going to take it nice and cautiously down towards turn 1, ease it up the inside of all these drivers, having a little look there on Stoffel Van Dorn, but he gets the better of me through La Source, and so does Pascal Wehrlein around the outside through La Source. Now the run down towards Eau Rouge, and Pascal Wehrlein squeezing me towards the barrier there, but we get a better job with the straight line speed that we have in this Renault over the Sauber car there. Now running down this very long Kemmel straight, can we get anything done on Stoffel Van Dorn? Of course, we've got a much greater engine than that McLaren here, but looks like we can't get anything done down in towards Le Combs. And unfortunately, we're just going to have to settle back for now. As the two Sauber drivers going side by side behind. It's getting a little bit feisty between Ericsson and Wehrlein at the moment. Breaking very late down towards Rivage. Having a little look around the outside on Stoffel Van Dorn. Can we hold it though? Round the outside. No, we can't. Stoffel Van Dorn holds on to P17 for the time being. And it's taking a little bit longer than I would have liked to get through the field. Of course, usually down towards turn 1, we make quite a lot of positions diving up the inside, but at the moment we're just having to wait a little bit longer than we usually do. And now right to the back of Stoffel Van Dorn once again, but catching up to him at the wrong moment as we just couldn't go up the inside down towards that left hand. And now round the outside here into the bus stop chicane, but Stoffel Van Dorn so much later on the brakes as he's a little bit lighter with fuel. We've obviously put up our fuel load as usual, so we can run in quite a bit of rich mix for this race, but that is, of course, is affecting the weight of the car. We have to brake a little bit earlier into corners. We brake very late there down in towards the source, almost catching myself out, having to dart out of the way of Stoffel Van Dorn. Now we're side by side once again on the run down in towards Eau Rouge. A little bit of contact between the two of us as, just like Pascal Wehrlein, Stoffel Van Dorn tries to squeeze me against the barrier, but there we go, job done on the McLaren driver. Now what can we do on Fernando Alonso, catching up with so much speed, so much quicker than the McLarens in a straight line, and there we go, job done, moving up into P16, and now right behind Lance Stroll and Danny Kvyat too. Lance Stroll getting the better there of the Toro Rosso driver. That held us up a little bit. We would have liked to maybe go for the overtake on Danny Kvyat, but unfortunately that just held me up a little bit too much and has allowed the McLarens to be right on my tail. But I don't think they're going to worry me too much as of course we are quicker in a straight line compared to both those drivers. We're now catching up to Danny Kvyat as we go through Eau Rouge once again. Down on towards the Kemmel straight, right on the back of the Toro Rosso driver. Here we go, using DRS, using slipstream on the right-hand side. And there we go, overtake done on Danny Kvyat. And moving up into P15, catching up to Lance Stroll now, who looks like he's going on the attack of the Haas driver Kevin Magnussen. He's actually got the job done as we cut ahead now to lap 5. So I'm tucking behind the Haas of Kevin Magnussen at the moment, looking for that opportunity to go for the overtake right on the back of Kevin Magnussen. Out of the source on the run down in towards Eau Rouge. What can we do on Kevin Magnussen? Probably get him down the Kemmel Straight. We might even have a look and towards Eau Rouge. Here we go on the left-hand side, round the outside there of Kevin Magnussen. And what an incredible move that was on the Haas driver. Round the outside, we actually got squeezed by the Haas driver in towards the entry of Eau Rouge. Squeezed against the barrier. We had to actually cut across the curb just a little bit there to make that maneuver, but then round the outside, and what a fantastic overtake that was. Let's have a look at that again as we are now in P14 for the Belgian Grand Prix. So sort of nice under braking in towards the source, going a little bit deep to sort of give us a greater drive and a greater exit off that corner. That gave me the run on Kevin Magnussen all the way down the hill towards Eau Rouge. On the left-hand side, he doesn't really notice I'm there, but to be fair to him, I'm not exactly enough of a car length side by side with Kevin Magnussen for him to give me the room. So he was right in his own mind to squeeze me out through that corner. It took a lot of bravery to go up the inside. We could have easily crashed with him, easily hit the barrier, but nevertheless we pulled through and we have moved up in towards that position. What an amazing move that was. But here we are now right behind Lance Stroll, actually moving up into the top 10 as a few other drivers have come into the pits now. But what can we do on Lance Stroll? Not close enough for the moment to go for an overtake through Eau Rouge like we did on Kevin Magnussen. But here we go, right on the back of Lance Stroll, sort of draft bumping him at the moment, right on the tail of Lance Stroll. And of course that Mercedes-powered Williams is really helping him down this straight, but we're going to get the better of him, hopefully up the inside, down in towards the comms. And there we go, job done on Lance Stroll. And up next for me is Esteban Ocon, who of course is in a rival team of mine. Force India is a team that we want to beat in this season. And then I think it's my teammate of Nico Hülkenberg, which isn't too far ahead as Kevin Magnussen darts into the pits there. Sorry, Roman Grosjean darts into the pits there on the right-hand side. So getting the job done on Roman Grosjean. Moving up a couple more positions as drivers come into the pit. But whereabouts is this going to put me as I brake very, very late in towards turn 1. Valtteri Bottas, the race leader, coming out just side by side there with Esteban Ocon as they go down in towards Eau Rouge. This is sort of a driver's view in towards this corner. Nice shots here at the Belgian Grand Prix, right behind this Mercedes and Force India duo. Maybe I'll even try and get involved down towards this corner. Valtteri Bottas going for the overtake around the outside in towards the comms. I'm going to try as well, very late on the brakes, side by side with Esteban Ocon. Almost, he gives me room on the left-hand side, but unfortunately I can't convert that into an overtake. So for now, we're just going to have to settle behind Esteban Ocon and actually make a little bit of a mistake in towards Rivage, running it a little bit wide. And then I see Kimi Raikkonen going for the move up the inside. So I decide there is no point fighting with that Ferrari driver because, of course, we're on a different strategy to Kimi Raikkonen at the moment. And he is so much quicker than me. So hopefully what we were hoping for really was that he would overtake Esteban Ocon, or those two would hold each other up, and then it would make an easy overtake to try and get past the Force India driver. Hopefully that is how that pans out. But now cutting ahead to lap 7 in today's race. We've got a couple more drivers into the pits at the moment. So that's going to move me up a few more positions here today as I'm now moving up into P5 for this Belgian Grand Prix, but very late on the brakes there, locking up quite a bit. Still managing to make the corner, and none of the drivers behind me are able to go for the overtakes. We've now got my teammate Nico Hülkenberg coming into the pits, and so is Esteban Ocon. The yellow flag came out momentarily there, but that was actually just because a driver was coming into the pits as the Game 40 was actually driving off the circuit. It actually wasn't the case. He just came into the pit lanes. We're now cut ahead to lap 10 of this Belgian Grand Prix. We've got another lead car right on my tail in the form of Lewis Hamilton in towards the corner with no name. Now on the run down in towards Piln. What can Lewis Hamilton do here as he goes up the inside, down towards Piln? We try to hold him around the outside, but in the end we thought, do you know what? Just like Kimi Raikkonen, there was no point fighting Lewis Hamilton. If we fight Lewis Hamilton too much, it's just only going to hold up our own race. So there's no real point fighting him. I would like to keep Sergio Perez behind me, but unfortunately a little bit of a mistake there where I lost the back end through that left-right chicane. Sorry, that right-left chicane there. Sergio Perez managed to just sort of slip past and unfortunately he got the overtaking maneuver on me. Of course, with these drivers like the Red Bulls and the Ferraris, I'm not really going to hold them up too much. If they are, you know, much quicker than me and they go for brave overtakes, they can have it. Sebastian Vettel is now going around the outside in towards Blanchimont. You know, I would like to just hold my own here. I'm not going to slow down for these drivers and just allow them through, but neither am I going to fight them too much. So just side by side at the moment with Sebastian Vettel through the right-left bus stop chicane. DRS open. There we go. Just sort of letting Sebastian Vettel through because there is no point fighting him too much. Because, like I say, we just hold us up and allow those drivers that I was fighting with for the points finish here today. It will allow those drivers to get the better of me and finish in a much better position. So at the moment, just running behind Sebastian Vettel in today's race, but he is, of course, on that two-stop strategy. So it will be interesting to see whereabouts these leaders will come out after they make their two-stop strategy. But here we are actually picking up a lot of speed against Sebastian Vettel, so much so that I decide, you know what, I'm going to go for the overtake. I'm not going to slow down for him. There's no point in doing so. And I make the corner. Sebastian Vettel has nothing to come back with there. We've actually made an overtake on a Ferrari in today's race. After starting this race weekend with absolutely zero pace, like right at the back of the field, and now somehow we are battling it out with a Ferrari quicker in a straight line. So we cut it now to lap 12, making a little bit of mistake once again in towards that chicane. Exactly the same overtake that Sergio Perez made on us earlier on in the race. Sebastian Vettel manages to get through this time around, and now I've got two Red Bulls right on my tail, very eager to go for the overtake, but once again catching so much to Sebastian Vettel, using slipstream all the way through Blanchimont and up towards the bus stop chicane. And once again, having a little look up the inside. I said I was going to have a battle with Sebastian Vettel, and somehow I've decided to sort of have a battle with Sebastian Vettel, but I thought that overtake was a little bit too aggressive there as the two tyres sort of banged together. So I decided just to give him that position back because it was a little bit unfair if I actually pulled out in front of Sebastian Vettel because of that. But he is now ahead of me. But can we do the same as we did a couple of laps ago, where we followed in that slipstream of the Ferrari driver and managed to get the position back at the end of the Kemmel Straight? Let's just wait and see. Following behind Sebastian Vettel at the moment through a Rouge, through this right-hander. DRS open. Now coming on the attack of Sebastian Vettel following the slipstream. But is the straight going to be long enough for us to go for the overtake into the Kemmel Straight? And no, it is not, unfortunately. We just sort of have to back off through Le Combs and just settle for this position. Just sort of hold off the Red Bull drivers. Of course, not going to fight them too much, but hold them off for the time being. So there is a yellow flag, and Kevin Magnussen is unfortunately out of today's race as he absolutely destroys that Fly Emirates bollard there. There was no need for that, but for some reason, Kevin Magnussen, through his frustrations with his own cards, decides, you know what, let's just smash this bollard for my own good reasoning. As we now cut head to the start of lap 14, end of lap 13, we're deciding now to make our first pit stop of this race. And so is Sebastian Vettel and Max Verstappen. Those drivers, of course, making their second pit stop of the Belgian Grand Prix. So this one-stop strategy looks to have worked out perfectly for us in today's race. And it looks like Max Verstappen has got the jump on Sebastian Vettel, and that is an amazing pit stop there from the Renault crew. 2.3 seconds to not only get out in front of Max Verstappen, but also get out in front of the Ferrari of Sebastian Vettel as well. What a pit stop there from the Renault crew, and that is why they're just so good. They are such a good pit crew at the moment in this game because of the sort of development points that we have got for the pit stop. So there we go, 2.3 seconds on the clock. Can we stay ahead though of Max Verstappen and Sebastian Vettel all the way down their Kemmel Straights? Looks like we can, and they cannot go for the overtake in towards the comms. So holding on to P8 for the time being, despite starting right at the back of the field in P20. Somehow we are now running in P8 in front of a Red Bull and a Ferrari. Of course, if we do let these two drivers through, we will still get 1 point in today's race. But now there is no reason why I should not defend against these two drivers. Of course, I want to get as many points as I possibly can to go round the outside of P1 on Max Verstappen. Very brave overtake there from Max Verstappen. So fair play to him for going for that overtake. Have a little look up the inside in towards the right hander, but unfortunately just cannot get the move done there on Max Verstappen. That actually loses me a little bit of time to him and allows Sebastian Vettel to go round the outside. But I'm not making that mistake again. I'm not doing that for the third time where a driver has overtaken me round the outside in towards Stavolo. I held him off, I held my own there, and I stopped Sebastian Vettel from getting through. And now we've got to follow in this slipstream, have the best couple of corners of my whole entire life through the bus stop chicane and La Source to try and stick to the back of Max Verstappen. If we can get close enough where we've got DRS down the Kemmel Straight, then we may, just may, have a slim chance of getting past Max Verstappen and regaining that 8th position in today's race. At the moment, though, the gap just looks a little bit too far for our own liking, but we're better down in towards the Source. I feel like I'm a lot better into that corner compared to the AI drivers. Now running down in towards El Rouge. Are we within 1 second of Max Verstappen through the famous corner? Now on the run down to the Kemmel Straight. Actually lost Sebastian Vettel to the back of us down this straight, so we don't really have to worry for an attack from the Ferrari driver. But unfortunately, we're just not close enough to Max Verstappen to go for an overtake, and I feel like that is going to be the end of us trying to get P8 at the end of the day, as we now cut ahead to the final lap of this Belgian Grand Prix. And the tactic that I have had for defending has worked an absolute treat. Basically, what I've been doing is I've been saving my fuel, putting it in lean mix as I go through Sector 2 and most of Sector 3. Then as soon as I get on towards this straight here, onto Blanchimont and down, all the way down towards the end of the Kemmel Straight, I've just been whacking it into rich mix, going as quickly as I possibly can to stop those drivers going on the attack mid. I'm being quite good out of corners as well. Just look at that, the gap that I've got from Sebastian Vettel on the exit of corners, and that's really, really stopped him from going for the overtake on myself. Otherwise, I probably could have lost out to him and maybe even Felipe Massa in this race as well. But one final lap, 1 or 2 final chances for Sebastian Vettel to go for the overtake on us. But going through a Rouge, look at once again, Sebastian Vettel is just absolutely nowhere. He has no purchase off the final corner, off the first corner there. And I just have so much room going down in towards the cons. He catches up towards the end of the straight, but it's just not enough. It's not enough for Sebastian Vettel to go for that overtake and take away the 9th position from us. I mean, he's the championship leader at the end of the day. He should have that car that is quick enough to go for the overtake, but somehow he has just not been able to get past us, not really been able to go for a move, hence why we've seen no highlights of Sebastian Vettel going for the overtake in this race, just because he's not been able to go for the move. But Valtteri Bottas has had the race of his life here today, as Valtteri Bottas wins the Belgian Grand Prix. An incredible drive there from the Mercedes driver. He is so far ahead of all the other drivers. Kimi Räikkönen finally coming across the line for P2. A good race there for the Ferrari man after a disappointing engine failure at the Hungarian Grand Prix. So he's now once again starting to reel in Sebastian Vettel. Lewis Hamilton rounds out the podium with Sergio Perez in P4. But who is going to finish on top of this battle for the final handful of points in this Belgian Grand Prix? We are holding off Sebastian Vettel for the time being, holding on to P9 as we go through the left-hander of Blanchimont. Sebastian Vettel still, though, very much on my tail, going down in towards the bus stop chicane. Sebastian Vettel dives it round the outside. It's side by side between the two of us, having to give him room around the outside, planting my foot down on the accelerator pedal. It's a drag to the finish, but it is finally P9 of the Belgian Grand Prix from right at the back of the grid. What an incredible race that was. What an incredible race that was, the Belgian Grand Prix. 20th position to finishing in P9. But not only that, holding off Sebastian Vettel in the Ferrari. The championship leader had no chance against me here today. What an incredible race that was at the Belgian Grand Prix to finish in P9. And right at the end of the race, he nearly had a chance of overtaking me, but it just wasn't enough, and we managed to hold on to that position. But Valtteri Bottas, he is our race winner, so well done to him. And once again, it is another finish 1-2 at the Belgian Grand Prix, with Kimi Räikkönen finishing in second for Ferrari. Lewis Hamilton rounds out that podium in P3 with Sergio Perez in fourth. Good race there for the Force India driver. Unfortunate for myself and for my own championship, but Sergio Perez, you've got to hand it to him. That's a really, really good race to finish in P4. Daniel Ricciardo finishes in 5th, with my teammate Nico Hülkenberg getting some really good points here today, finishing 6th in the standings. Esteban Ocon is in 7th with Max Verstappen in 8th. Couldn't quite overtake Esteban Ocon after getting past me, but a good job of holding him up for most of the race. Myself finishing in P9 with Sebastian Vettel, the championship leader, behind me in P10. Then we have Felipe Massa just missing out on the points in P11, Carlos Sainz in 12th, and Fernando Alonso in 13th. Looking further down the field, then Romain Grosjean finishes today's race in P14 with Danny Kvyat 15th, there's Lance Stroll 16th, Stoffel van Dorn 17th, Pascal Wehrlein in 18th with Marcus Ericsson P19. Then Kevin Magnussen, unfortunately for him, even though we had that great side-by-side moment through Eau Rouge, unfortunately just could not finish today's race and he goes down as a DNF. Drivers' Championship then, after 12 rounds of Season 2, and the gap at the top has come down by quite a bit. Sebastian Vettel only scoring 1 single point here today as I kept him behind myself. I mean, he's still got a 43-point lead over Valtteri Bottas at the moment, but still, Sebastian Vettel is very, very happy and very comfortable with the lead that he's got at the moment. Lewis Hamilton, unfortunately, getting overtaken by his teammate after he gets victory here today and actually getting a 7-point lead over Lewis Hamilton as well. Kimi Räikkönen starting to come back into it after a 2nd place here today, but he's going to need a couple of race wins as we go towards the end of the season if he wants any chance of winning the Drivers' World Championship. Daniel Ricciardo moves further ahead of me in the championship with P5, and unfortunately losing a bit of ground there as I'm still stuck in P6, but luckily still got quite a bit of a gap there to Sebastian Vettel. Of course, he only scored 2 more points than me in today's race. That's not too bad. 77 points there for Max Verstappen and 102 points for myself. So sort of holding off the Red Bull driver at the moment. If we can finish there, that will be a really, really good season. And finally, rounding it off with the Constructors' Championship, Renault still holding on to P4. We're actually now 32 points ahead of the Force India team. So a good day for Force India, gaining a few points on us here today. But hopefully, in the next couple of rounds, we can sort of stay ahead of those drivers. Of course, they're going to have a good race at Italy because their car is very, very quick in a straight line. It may be a race that the two of us Renault drivers struggle at. But then we head to the likes of Singapore, Japan, where we can certainly come into our own and get some decent results at those races. But that is it for the Belgian Grand Prix. If you have enjoyed today's race, don't forget to smash a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so for daily Formula 1 content. We've got Rags to Riches free on this channel, and of course the F1 2017 career mode as well. And as always, don't forget to leave your comments in the section below. I've replied to about 98% of comments, so if you do leave one, there is a really high chance that I will get back to your comments. But that is it for the Belgian Grand Prix. I will see you next time for the Italian Grand Prix, but until then, it's goodbye from me.